All right, let's talk about Trevor Lawrence and what a disaster this game ended up being for the Jaguars. Started off very strong. They had a couple of short fields that they were able to get 10 points off of those. Also a special teams touchdown, so that gave them 17 of their points. But really, this offense was struggling in the first three quarters and completely fell apart in the fourth quarter. So let's talk about what went wrong here for Trevor Lawrence, starting off with the play you see on your screen. Zone coverage concept here, second down and 7. Lawrence takes a snap. You saw the route on the screen. It's going to get open, right? I mean, for right here, if the ball gets out of Lawrence's hands, has a shot. Again, Houston plays defense so well. So these windows are not going to be open for a very long amount of time if they even get open in the first place. But for Lawrence, he wants to make this throw, but there is pressure. And that's just, that was a trend in this game. Constantly under pressure for Lawrence. The offensive line, listen, most offensive lines struggle to hold up against Houston. This one certainly did. So Lawrence has to navigate the pressure a little bit. He still gets the throw off, but at that point, a defensive back came in and honestly probably should have had to pick. I shouldn't say should have had to pick, but I'm sure he will say that he should have had to pick in that situation. Would have been a tough catch, but that was a very, a play that could have very possibly ended up in an interception, and they were lucky it wasn't. But again, going over to a play like this, talk about pressure. So this is a tight end who's going to be blocking Danielle Hunter one-on-one. It's a play action, so that's why they're doing it this way. And so essentially the idea is, hey, if Danielle Hunter doesn't notice the passing play, then he'll start off as though he's playing run defense. That's usually why you feel okay about doing something like this, but watch what happens. Watch as Hunter is just going to get around. This is just not a fair matchup. Get around that player so quickly. He gets to the quarterback, actually knocked the ball loose for Lawrence. You can't blame Lawrence on that. That's a blindside hit. It's right as he's kind of getting set. I mean, there's nothing you can do there. You got to block better or you're just not going to have success as an offense. And so, again, this is a mismatch. I'm not going to be too critical of the tight end for not being able to make this block. I couldn't really read the number on it, so I'm not exactly sure who that was. I'm sure Texans fans will know. But either way, ultimately, that's just a play that didn't work. And again, that's kind of a coaching thing of, hey, I get this is the play in your playbook that usually works. You got Danielle Hunter on the other side. You kind of can't run it when he's the guy that you have to leave on a tight end. Like, you kind of have to play to adjust your opponent, right? So I've been very complimentary of Liam Cohen this season, but I think that's a fair critique here. I think there were some plays on the offensive coaching staff. Also, this next one, so what's going to happen here is this is a zone coverage concept. I want to show this because there were not only negatives here for Trevor Lawrence. He did show some flashes, this one being one of those. Watch as he takes the snap, the pressure does get there, but he's able to get around it, get kind of step up, and keeps his eyes downfield, which is important because, that Houston player is moving in because, hey, someone has to make sure they tackle the quarterback. There's 25 seconds left in the half on a 2nd and 18. Probably you want to stay back if the quarterback does run. It's not the end of the world here, but because that defender is stepping in, Lawrence, because he's keeping his eyes downfield, notices that he has a receiver open there. Watch as Lawrence flips it forward. They're able to, get kind of right around field goal range. And I mean, again, it's Cam Little, so that field goal target line is right at midfield because we know he can make it from right at midfield, maybe even from a little bit behind midfield. But of course, the Jaguars want more. So heading over here, now they're at the opponent's, 49-yard line. You have, the route on the screen, one-on-one matchup. On paper, this is certainly a route that can work in this situation. Now, you're targeting Derek Stingley Jr., so you have to be careful anytime you target that guy. And quite frankly, I think with Jaden Higgins as the receiver, I think I just don't even look this way, if I'm being honest. I get that it's a good route against this concept, but, it's just not a good matchup. Lawrence takes a snap, and it's going about as you expect it to go. This is not really open. If you want to make this throw it high and outside, force your receiver to make a tough catch. Lawrence does not do that. Watch the throw. Throws it too far behind. It's a great defensive play, but you're thrown to a great defensive player, right? You can't say I got beat by a great defensive player when you target the great defensive player, right? You can say that if you target someone else and the great defensive player, comes off of the guy he's targeting and gets the interception that way. But no, you chose to target 24. You live with the consequences. But heading over here, this is just what we saw a lot of. So again, the fourth quarter, obviously what a lot of people are going to point to is hey, you got to get a stop on Davis Mills at some point. How do you let them score, really 20 points in the fourth quarter. It's 26 due to a last second touchdown. But how do you let the offense score 20 points? I get it, but also, as an offense, it's on you to run out the clock. You have, this huge lead, this 11-point lead with 11 minutes left. Get a long drive here. That ices the game. Well, you only gain 1 yard on your first 2 plays, so now you have a 3rd and 9. That's not good. The Texans are going to play a cover 1 blitz, which is what they were doing a lot of in this game. Trevor Lawrence is going to take the snap, and he just doesn't love what he sees down the field. And again, for a receiving core that they put a lot of effort into this. They drafted Travis Hunter, who's banged up, unfortunately, but you have, in theory, a lot of guys. Jacoby Myers, who was their leading receiver in this game, still only had 41 yards. You need someone to win here, and it's Houston. I mean, Houston covers well. It's hard to win in this situation. So Lawrence is going to try and see if he can scramble. This time he can't. There's no way for him to go. Danielle Hunter brings him down. Again, Danielle Hunter's a very good player. He won his one-on-one matchup, eventually gets home, but if the ball can't come out quickly, you're not going to get have success. And when you're not running the ball very effectively, you're getting in these obvious passing situations. The pass rushers can get home because you have to hold on to the ball too long. Although going over to a play like this, I kind of want to put a little bit of the blame on Lawrence for some of these plays. I'm not saying it's all his fault. Again, just the life of a quarterback. You get all the praise when things go well. You get all the blame when things go poorly. But he deserves some of the blame for a play like this. So they've just blown this huge lead, but the good news was that there still is a little bit of time, and you have probably the best kicker you would want in this situation. Cam Little, who has the huge leg. I guess, Aubrey for Dallas, he hasn't been given the opportunities for those long field goals. He's another one that you would like, but, you can't ask for much better than this if you're Lawrence. It's a man coverage. Again, cover 1 blitz. This is what Houston's been doing. They show 2 safety deep coverage, but they only have one of them stay deep. Lawrence takes a snap. He reads this play, and I just feel like there needed to be kind of a mental adjustment from Lawrence of, hey, you have a one-on-one matchup towards the bottom of the screen down the field. Just throw one there, right? You can get rid of the ball immediately. Don't hold on to the ball too long here because you only have 1 timeout. There's only 25 seconds left. But you see Lawrence, again, if this happens, if this is the first play of the game, okay, whatever, pressure came quickly. I just feel like there should have been an adjustment either by him or by Liam Cohen. How about a pick play here? How about a pick play / rub route here to get the ball out of his hands quickly? I get that you don't want to do that given the, you need to get kind of the ball downfield, but you also have to get the ball out of Lawrence's hands quickly, which again, it's a tough situation. If you can't block, things become more difficult. But I think there should have at least been kind of an adjustment from Lawrence. Even if you have to just leave a back in the game, so that way Lawrence can throw it into the dirt without getting a grounding penalty. Even that adjustment, I think, would have been smart. Instead, they have to burn their timeout. Going over to this play, this was kind of a desperation time situation. 2nd and 19. Now Houston won't blitz, which is probably you understand why, because if you do blitz, one guy breaks a tackle and it could be ball game for you. So they decide to put 2 safeties deep, but this does open the door a bit for Jacksonville. Watch as when Lawrence takes a snap, he's going to look down the field and, again, doesn't love what he sees. You could give a receiver a chance to throw up a jump ball, but again, if you're throwing it too far down the field, it's in double coverage and no timeouts. What does Lawrence do? Well, this is exactly what you need him to do if you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. Watch as he does scramble out, and he does ultimately rush, pick up the first down on this play, and gets out of bounds. That was, to their own 45-yard line. Cam Little would have tried a field goal from there. It was a penalty that forced them back, and they ultimately lose the game. I do wonder how we view the perception of how Lawrence played had he ultimately gotten the victory at the end, because he didn't make the play he had to make when they needed it, but then a penalty made it all for nothing. So ultimately, there still are some good plays, especially out of structure from Lawrence. Again, I know everyone is always quick to fire guys when they are not running the team. If they cut him after this season, it's $116 million in dead cap. That's significantly more than the Russell Wilson one was. That's $50 million more. And even with the cap being higher, I think people forget, the Broncos didn't get out of that Russell Wilson contract immediately once they made the move. In fact, he still has a $32 million cap hit this season for the Denver Broncos. So, it takes years to get that off the books. A lot of times you're better off just letting the player stay there anyway. Lawrence is going to be the quarterback for a bit. I just think so. Maybe you'll draft a guy and, try to have a competition there. But, he's going to be the guy. And really, he just has to start making better decisions. And I think the coaching staff has to give him some easier decisions to make. You can't treat this as though you have a star quarterback. And quite frankly, I don't think Liam Cohen can treat this as though he has Baker Mayfield. That's who he had last year at Tampa Bay. I think Mayfield makes better on-field decisions, even though he will have his bad decisions as well. He typically doesn't need his hand held as much as someone like Lawrence does. And I want to see a bit more checkdowns and things of that nature if this Jaguars team is going to avoid what just happened here. Again, defense makes a stop. We don't talk about this. That penalty doesn't happen. We don't talk about this. But either way, I'd still be coming out of this tape saying, we need to see better football from Lawrence and from the Jaguars offense. That's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.